Today we're going to make caramels. These caramels are going to be so delicious. You can do several things with them. You can use them with apples. You can wrap them up and give them as gifts at Christmas time or any time of year. You can put pecans on them and kind of make them like turtles if you put chocolate on them, or you can just eat them plain. Welcome to Southern Glance with Gail. Come on over and let's start cooking. Before we get started, I just really want to appreciate all of you subscribers out there, and thanks so much for subscribing to the channel. It really does mean a lot. It helps the channel to grow, and I really enjoy cooking, and especially the sweets, because I'm kind of like a sweetaholic. But I enjoy sharing these tried and true recipes with everyone there, and because they're so yummy. So I really appreciate you subscribing and liking the video and ringing the bell. So I just really appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to start right now. This is a pretty easy caramel recipe. We're going to start off with 2 cups of sugar. We're going to use a big, large pan, maybe a Dutch oven, because you don't want it to boil over. We started out with 2 cups of sugar, and now we're going to put in 1 cup of brown sugar. When you do the brown sugar, make sure it's packed firm in there. Just like that. Just go ahead and dump that. Now we're going to put in 1 cup of corn syrup. Now notice whenever we put things in and we measure it all the way to the rim. Some people, whenever they measure, they don't measure all the way to the rim and they're missing out. And you want to measure consistently. Like if you do not measure all the way to the rim, then don't measure everything all the way to the rim. But I'll always measure all the way to the rim, and then we're going to just get all the corn syrup out. Okay, next thing is we're going to have 1 cup evaporated milk. Now we're going to put in 1 pint heavy whipping cream. And so far, all we're doing is we're just mixing up the ingredients. We're going to put in 1 cup of butter. That's 2 sticks. And we're going to start stirring. Now we're going to heat this. We're going to use a medium, or maybe a little bit more than medium, a little bit like maybe a 5 or 6. So I'm going to put it a little bit past medium, maybe a not quite medium high, but just a little bit. And we're going to stir this. It's going to take a long time, but we're going to stir it until it starts boiling. As soon as this starts boiling, then you don't touch it at all. You just let it cook. That's what's so easy about this, is you just let it do its own thing. We're still stirring. And you're stirring continuously. The butter's not melted, but it's at this point that if you want to taste this, it tastes so yummy. Whenever I grew up, my mom made fresh homemade bread, and she would make sugar butter to go on top of it. And the sugar butter tasted a lot like this. So I'm just going to dip this in here, and I'm going to taste it. It does taste good. All right, our mixture has already started coming to a boil. At this point, we're not going to whisk anymore. And it is important to whisk because the whisk helps to create a smooth caramel. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and put in this candy thermometer. And this is a high-tech candy thermometer. And we are going to cook this. It just has a little doohickey on the back of it that we're going to attach to the pan. And also, before I put it in there, see this little thing right here at the bottom of it? It can lay straight flat on the pan without having the thermometer, the bulb, touching the pan, and it kind of protects it. So we're going to put that right in the pan, and then the red little line is going to rise up, and whenever it comes up to 241 or 242, then that's whenever we're going to take it off the heat. But right now we're going to go ahead and prepare. So we're just going to let that cook for a little bit, and we're going to bring it back over here, and I'm going to tell you how to prepare for this whenever it finishes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and prepare for the caramels whenever they are finished. So I've got a pan here. It's just a 9 by 13 pan. We're going to go ahead and put it on pot holders because this thing is going to be really hot. We're going to layer parchment paper. So we're going to just go ahead and very lightly butter the parchment paper. And all I'm going to do is just with a little slab of butter, and I'm just going to kind of go lickety-split fast like that. And then my parchment paper is done. I'm going to lay my parchment in here. It does not matter whether it goes in flat or not because the caramel's just going to naturally sink it in. Okay, this parchment paper is, I am going to scoop this over though. This one, we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to butter this very quickly. And then we're going to put this right on top of this plate. Because whenever the caramel comes out, you just want to pour it. You don't want to scrape it because sometimes the scraping part might lead to kind of harder chunks. So after I pour it, then I scrape it out on here, and that's good just to snack on or whatever, but we don't want to mix that up. Okay, we'll be back after this thermometer reaches about 242, 241. Our caramels have already reached 242 degrees, and we are going to take the thermometer out. We're going to put it in the sink, and then we're going to stir in 2 teaspoons vanilla. And you can kind of hear it sizzle as we're stirring. Okay. Boy, that looks great. So now all we're going to do is we're going to put it in this pan. Just watch what it does. Kind of cool. And actually there's not very many things that we can scrape out, but we are going to scrape out just a little bit and put it right here. And this would be our testing caramel. With our spatula, we're going to just kind of punch down on the parchment paper, kind of making it so that it goes all the way to the corners. We don't want to disturb the caramels too much, but we do want to get it all the way to the corners. And I think that looks good. Okay, so now the next step is that we're going to just leave it overnight. We're going to let it sit, and then tomorrow morning or tomorrow we're going to cut it into sections, and I'll show you how you can do that. Our caramels have set all night, and now they are ready to be sliced. We're just going to take the whole pan like this, parchment paper and everything, put the pan away, and we're going to put it on a cutting board. And take the parchment paper down, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take a big knife. We're going to put butter on the knife. Be careful not to cut yourself. Okay, and now all we're going to do is we're going to slice it however big that you want. And it takes a little bit of time, but just press it down, and there you have it. I'm trying not to touch it, but after you get a few slices done, then you can start putting it where you want it. After I cut this, I'm going to take some to my mom and to Aunt Becky and to Julia because they're going on a kind of like an adventure vacation in an RV. So I thought this might be kind of nice for them to have. Now I'm going to pack them up. I've got a little container here. I'm going to just put parchment paper. I have not buttered the parchment paper because you don't need to. It's not going to stick. And I'm just going to layer some of these in here. And I'm going to actually take these to my mom pretty early this morning in about 15 minutes. I'm going to put some of these. Okay, now I've got 6. I'm going to put another parchment paper right on top. I'm going to put some more. I'm going to go ahead and cut another row. And I'm going to just put those right back in here. And I can cover that with more parchment paper and then just put the lid on, and there I have a nice little gift. Now, if you don't want to put the parchment paper on top, just cover it just like that, and that's a gift. I think just because they're traveling, I'm going to do that. We're going to finish cutting these caramels. Like I did earlier, we cut them into squares, and I took some of them to my mom and my aunt and to Julia so that they could have some for their little adventure in the RV. So now we're going to finish cutting the rest of them. Like I did this earlier, we're just going to slide this knife right over here against the butter, and then we're going to just cut them. Whenever I got to the end, I just kind of cut that part off because that's actually for tasting. Here, I'm going to turn this around, and now we're going to just cut it the other way. Once we have the whole bottom covered, we're going to go ahead and put some more parchment paper on it, and we can just layer them up. Okay, we have some left over. You can put parchment paper on top of this, or you can actually wrap them so that it looks like this, and you can give those for gifts. Put them in a nice little bag. So we're going to take parchment paper. We're going to just take one. We're going to wrap it over once on top of itself, and then we're going to twist both ends the same direction. Try not to squish the caramels. And there you go. Let's try another one. So we're going to just put it right here on top of the parchment paper. Wrap it one side over, one side over. And since this side is facing that way, we're going to start twisting that side. Just like that. That way it won't come loose. Both sides exactly the same, and there you have it. Okay, now you've got some other stuff. The rest of the caramel that was just from the sides of the parchment paper, you can cut those. And you can eat it. And it's so good. And another thing that you can do with the caramels is you can grab a caramel, you can actually smush it and put it right on top of apple wedges. And then you've got like a candied apple, and it's a lot easier to eat than the whole apple because you don't have the seeds that you have to worry about. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. The caramels are excellent, and just let me know in the comments what you think and if you've tried them or whatever. And if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to be notified when the next video comes out. I so much appreciate you watching. Have a great and fantastic day.